Stop flushing your plants before harvest. Or maybe not. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Grow Dots, the easiest way to feed your high-value plants. You mix Grow Dots in once at the beginning of your grow, and they feed your plants all the way to harvest. You don't have to worry about nutrient burn or nutrient lockout. Grow Dots does all the hard work for you. Check them out over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. All right, come on, High C. This one's kind of controversial.
Okay, so to flush or not to flush. I know a little bit about this, but I've never done it because I've been using Grow Dots since I got back into growing.
Right.
And it's a controversy. I hear some people say you have to flush. I hear some people say you don't have to flush. I haven't, but maybe I've been doing it wrong. Help me out, Scotty.
I mean, if you were to say you have to flush the extra nitrogen out of your media in late flower or in mid to late flower, I'd say, yeah, that sounds accurate. But when you just oversimplify it and say you have to flush, no, you don't have to flush all the nutrients out of your media, and some of those nutrients are pretty stuck there, man, so you're not going to flush them as easy.
Okay, so I feel like this is if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, sometimes you got to flush and sometimes you don't.
I don't know how to respond to that, I see.
Okay, so let's get into where the idea of flushing came from in the first place. Because from what I know, I've grown other stuff, tomatoes, peppers, strawberries, green beans. I've never flushed any of those things.
No.
But cannabis is different somehow?
I mean, this is coming from the people that sell you the nutrients. So the people that sell you the nutrients, first off, flushing, what would happen? They would have you put with the liquid nutrients, the multi-part liquid nutrients, they would have you put more than you needed in there. And if I'm selling nutrients, liquid nutrients, I'm going to say, hey, use this amount and then make sure that you drain off, or they call it leaching off, an extra 30%. So always water more than you need to. Let that water run out, and that water is going to be imbalanced now.
Okay, so I know that when I'm feeding my plants, I want more nitrogen during veg, and I want less nitrogen during bloom.
Plants still plenty of nitrogen, by the way. That's a myth, man. You need more. You need nitrogen in bloom,
but just not as much.
Not as much. Exactly right.
Okay, and so the old way of feeding, Happy Frog, Miracle Grow. What was the other one that you said?
Well, Mega Crop is one. It's just like known as a super old school. What is it? Hang on, let me look. It is a 9-7-14.
And the old way of doing it was you would just feed the one thing all the way through, and then maybe you'd add some PK boost. But you'd still be getting a large amount of nitrogen all the way through. And what's the problem with having a bunch of nitrogen towards harvest?
It makes super green. Nitrogen, think of like green leaves, really those dark green leaves when you have a ton of nitrogen in there, and you can taste it. Nitrogen, I call it a green taste. I don't know how else to describe it.
I think of sometimes it's harder to burn, and I get that it smells like kind of grassy.
Yeah, it's like a hay. It burns. When you say it burns like hay, and you get a black ash and whatnot because there's a bunch of stuff left in there.
A bunch of the nitrogen, and so the idea was to kind of flush that nitrogen out before you go to harvest or towards the end of your bloom cycle. Yeah,
and that's the idea, is that the nitrogen washes out of the media really easy. Is water soluble nitrogen is what they're using. So you're able to get that out. And if I'm a nutrient company, I'll keep on having you push that nutrient, and then I'll have you wash it out.
Okay, but what worries me about that, and one of the things that's always kind of intimidated me about flushing, is I'm concerned that by adding that excess water, I might do damage to my roots. I might drown my plant. It seems like there's a lot that could go wrong.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And especially as a plant starts senescing, as it starts getting older, it stops taking up nutrients. Okay, I just had my 82-year-old neighbor over. We all pigged out on Italian food. He had a half a meatball. Okay, man. He's in senescence.
Okay.
Meaning that it's just not naturally picking up loads of nutrients. So they're really slowing down there. Don't forget, these plants have, 90, 100 days. They've got this 70-day flower cycle. At the end of it, they die. So they're just trying to push out terpenes, and they're trying to do anything they can to get their seed, to spread their seed.
So just like you could load up your neighbor's plate with a bunch of food.
Ain't going to eat it.
It's going to all be there, but he won't intake it. Same thing with your plants as they get to the end of their life cycle.
Yep.
Even if that nutrient's in the soil or the media, they're probably not going to be sucking all of it up.
Yes. I will say nitrogen is super soluble. It's super plant available. So, of course, we don't want to be pouring a whole bunch of nitrogen on there.
Okay. But that also makes it to where it's easier to flush out since it's so soluble.
Yes, absolutely.
The last thing that I was thinking about is most of the nutrients out now, specifically for cannabis,
right,
like Grow Dots or the other ones that I've seen out there,
right,
they intentionally get rid of or taper down on the nitrogen towards.
Absolutely. Okay. That's why they went from these 1 parts. You know, these 1 parts are way back in the day where I'm growing something in the backyard, pour some fertilizer on it. And then it went to, I think it went right to 3 parts. And 3 parts it has a base and then it has a grow and a bloom. And you can mix those together, whether you have 3 parts bloom, 1 part grow, which is what you do at the end. You still keep a little bit of nitrogen in there, but you're changing the ratios. That really is what a lot of this has to do with, is the ratios of P and K compared to nitrogen.
So instead of just keeping a high dose of nitrogen all the way through and having to flush it out, they just taper down, they slow down the amount of nitrogen or decrease it.
Absolutely. But that's just me. I don't worry about flushing my plants anymore, especially because I use Grow Dots. But what about you? Do you still flush? Let me know why or why not in the comments. And if you like this video, please press that like button, smash that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending. I hope you like them.